Imagine starting intermittent fasting and expecting calm, but instead, your kidneys spring into action. They begin working with surprising intensity, as if a hidden switch inside your metabolism suddenly flips. Most people assume something is wrong when they start urinating constantly during the first week. But this unexpected flood is not a failure of your kidneys. It is their first moment of freedom. For years, high insulin from frequent meals has acted like a tightened valve, restricting sodium release. Harvard researchers describe this effect as insulin-driven antitriuresis, a subtle but powerful retention. Every time insulin spikes, your kidneys grab sodium and water, locking them inside your circulation. It creates a quiet swelling, a puffiness many people never realize comes from hormonal pressure. But when fasting begins, the biology flips faster than people expect, often within just hours. Insulin levels fall sharply because no new glucose enters the bloodstream to trigger secretion. As insulin drops, those renal valves loosen, releasing sodium and water through the proximal tubules. This is the true beginning of the Great Flush. The reason early weight loss seems unbelievably rapid, it is not fat loss, it is the body draining stored water once held back by hormonal command. Think of a balloon slowly releasing pressure after years of being slightly overfilled and stretched. The relief feels surprising because nothing seems dramatic on the surface. Yet everything is shifting. Here is the twist most people never hear. This flush actually reduces blood pressure almost immediately. Stanford cardiology data shows sodium release can lower systolic pressure significantly within days. It is the body recalibrating circulation, restoring a vascular rhythm forgotten by modern eating patterns. But this early relief hides a risk that catches many beginners completely unprepared and confused. As the kidneys release sodium, they also release electrolytes that stabilize nerves and heart rhythm. Without mindful replacement, dizziness or fatigue appears suddenly mistaken for fasting failure. This is not the body breaking down. It is the body asking for proper support during transition. A small pinch of mineral salt or electrolyte water restores balance remarkably quickly in most people. Once this adjustment is made, the flood phase becomes a predictable step rather than a frightening event. Your kidneys are not panicking during these first 2 weeks. They are doing exactly what evolution intended. They are clearing the metabolic noise so your fasting physiology can finally begin on a clean foundation. And beneath this flush lies a deeper question. What happens when the kidneys finally stop releasing water? That shift marks the beginning of the next chapter, where early signs of kidney strain reveal themselves. Most kidney problems begin quietly, long before any symptom becomes noticeable or alarming. Unlike the heart, your kidneys cannot send sharp warnings or dramatic signals when stressed. They simply keep working until nearly 70% of their filtering capacity is already gone. This silent decline is why so many people discover kidney issues only during routine blood tests. But fasting introduces an unusual opportunity to observe early hints your kidneys rarely reveal. Here is the simplest one, and it starts the moment you walk into your bathroom tomorrow morning. Look at the toilet bowl after you urinate, ignoring color and focusing solely on the surface. If the foam disappears within seconds, your filtration barrier is performing exactly as designed. But if the bubbles cling to the surface like beer foam, something different may be happening. This lingering foam often signals protein leakage, a condition doctors call proteinuria. It occurs when the glomerular filter stretches enough to let albumin escape into the urine. Mayo Clinic nephrologists describe this as a breach in the kidney's microscopic barrier system. The twist is that most people wrongly blame dietary protein for this leakage. They assume eating meat strains the kidneys and worsens filtration over time. But the evidence shows a very different story, rooted in blood sugar, not dietary protein. Chronically high insulin and glucose make the kidney filter work at abnormally high pressure. This state, known as glomerular hyperfiltration, forces blood through tiny vessels too quickly. Over years, these vessels stiffen as sugars bind to their walls in a process called glycation. The damage narrows pathways and triggers even more pressure, creating a downward spiral. This is why diabetics develop kidney issues far earlier than the general population. And here is the surprising connection to intermittent fasting that many overlook completely. When insulin drops for extended periods, the kidneys finally escape that constant pressure. Filtration slows to a safer speed, giving the delicate barrier room to stabilize and recover. Some people even notice their morning foam gradually fading after several weeks of consistent fasting. This improvement does not come from avoiding protein. It comes from reducing glycemic overload. The kidneys prefer steadiness over spikes, and fasting delivers exactly that environment. But understanding foam is only the beginning, because the next phase happens far deeper inside. Once pressure decreases, the renal cells begin engaging a repair process that feels almost invisible. And that quiet repair sets the stage for a transformation far greater than most expect. After several weeks of fasting, something subtle begins inside your kidneys without any noticeable sensation. The early pressure has eased, the foam has stabilized, and inflammation slowly retreats from the filtering units. This is the moment your renal cells finally gain the quiet they need to begin deeper repair. But the repair does not start with new growth. It starts with controlled destruction of damaged components. Scientists call this autophagy, a cellular recycling system activated when nutrients become consistently scarce. It is not a rapid transformation, but a disciplined cleanup that unfolds with remarkable precision. Inside each tubular cell, worn-out mitochondria are identified and tagged for dismantling. These dysfunctional mitochondria are energetically expensive and produce excessive oxidative stress when overactive. Removing them allows healthier mitochondria to divide and take over the cell's energy production. Nature Review's nephrology highlights this process as a key protective mechanism during metabolic stress. The twist is that autophagy is not triggered by fasting alone, but by the hormonal switch behind it. When you stop eating, mTOR, the growth pathway, gradually shuts down to conserve resources. At the same time, EMPK rises, signaling every cell to begin efficiency mode instead of expansion mode. This shift is what unlocks autophagy, ensuring damaged structures are consumed before they cause harm. Over several months of intermittent fasting, the kidneys cycle through repeated waves of this cleanup. Each wave removes a layer of molecular clutter accumulated from years of high glucose metabolism. This includes misfolded proteins, oxidized lipids, and aged organelles, slowing cellular performance. As these remnants disappear, the cells regain flexibility and oxygen consumption becomes more efficient. Tubular cells begin transporting electrolytes more smoothly, stabilizing the body's internal balance. And while you cannot feel this directly, you might notice increased energy or clearer thinking indirectly. Better mitochondrial function reduces systemic fatigue because kidneys require enormous amounts of ATP daily. This internal upgrade also makes renal tissue more resilient to periods of low blood flow. That resilience is vital because kidneys face constant microfluctuations in pressure and oxygen delivery. Autophagy strengthens their buffer zone, lowering the risk of long-term structural decline. But a deeper question follows this improvement as fasting progresses from months 1 to 3. If repair is happening quietly, what happens when the body begins releasing stored waste aggressively? That transition leads to one of fasting's strangest sensations, a discomfort often mistaken for harm. Around the second or third month of fasting, a strange pattern can appear without any warning. Some people notice mild back discomfort, cloudy urine, or a sharp sensation during urination. These symptoms often create panic because they resemble early signs of kidney stones, but in many cases, they are actually part of a cleansing response rather than a medical emergency. Here is the twist most beginners never expect. Fasting can trigger oxalate dumping. Oxalates are microscopic crystals found in foods like spinach, almonds, peanuts, and black tea. Over years, these crystals accumulate quietly inside kidney tissue or other connective structures. When insulin drops for long periods, your body begins mobilizing stored compounds during fat burning. As fat tissues shrink, oxalates embedded in surrounding areas may start dissolving into circulation. The kidneys then receive a sudden wave of these crystals and attempt to flush them out efficiently. This is why urine may look cloudy or feel slightly irritating during this phase. Researchers from the University of Chicago note that oxalate movement increases during metabolic shifts. It is the body clearing backlog rather than forming new stones from scratch. But the discomfort can worsen if another biochemical factor emerges at the same time. During deep fat metabolism, ketones rise sharply and require the kidneys to excrete them rapidly. This forces the kidneys to prioritize ketone clearance over other solutes in the filtration pipeline. As a result, uric acid may temporarily accumulate because ketones compete for excretion channels. This buildup is not chronic gout but a brief elevation caused by metabolic competition. The increased uric acid can also contribute to temporary burning sensations during urination. Fortunately, there is a simple intervention that supports both oxalate removal and stone prevention. The key is citrate, a natural compound that binds calcium and prevents calcium oxalate crystallization. Lemon juice is one of the richest dietary sources of citrate and acts surprisingly quickly. Nephrology guidelines frequently recommend citrate therapy for patients prone to recurrent kidney stones. Adding lemon to water during fasting windows can soften the oxalate load significantly. Hydration also plays a crucial role because concentrated urine increases crystal interactions. A steady flow of fluid helps crystals move smoothly instead of clumping into larger structures. This phase is not a sign that fasting is harming your kidneys, but a sign they are clearing residue. Still, understanding the mechanism reduces fear because uncertainty often amplifies discomfort. Once the oxalate storm passes, a deeper systemic change begins affecting organs beyond the kidneys. By the 6th month of intermittent fasting, the benefits extend far beyond what happens in your kidneys. Your blood pressure often steadies, your energy feels cleaner, and inflammation continues drifting downward. These improvements seem unrelated at first, but they point to a deeper systemic recalibration. The kidneys sit at the center of a network that controls vascular tone, electrolyte balance, and fluid pressure. When fasting lowers insulin for months, the renin-angiotensin system gradually settles into a calmer rhythm. This shift relaxes small blood vessels throughout the body, restoring flexibility to previously stiffened pathways. Nitric oxide production rises as oxidative stress decreases, improving circulation across multiple organs. Harvard nephrologists often describe this stage as metabolic stabilization after prolonged dietary restraint. Here comes the unexpected twist, one that surprises even people who understand fasting physiology well. Your ears, specifically the inner ear, often respond to kidney recovery in measurable ways. Both organs share similar embryologic origins and rely heavily on stable microirculation to function. When renal blood flow improves, the same pattern often echoes through the delicate vessels inside the cochlea. This is why some individuals report reduced tinnitus or improved hearing after months of metabolic repair. It is not magic. It is microvascular consistency finally returning to a fragile sensory system. The inner ear depends on precise electrolyte gradients maintained by tiny pumps requiring steady energy. Fasting indirectly supports these pumps by reducing systemic inflammation and improving mitochondrial efficiency. As mitochondrial output rises, the hair cells inside the cochlea operate more smoothly, with fewer disruptions. This change may manifest as clearer sound perception or a softer background ringing. But fasting is not replacing medication. It is removing the metabolic noise that strained these systems. At the same time, lower sodium retention reduces fluid pressure in the tiny chambers of the inner ear. This can ease symptoms in people sensitive to minor shifts in internal ear pressure. The kidneys and ears may seem unrelated, yet they reflect each other more than most realize. When one regains balance, the other often follows because their physiology depends on shared stability. This interconnected recovery becomes a quiet confirmation that your metabolism is truly shifting long-term. But with all these improvements, a critical question emerges for anyone fasting consistently. What boundaries must be respected to keep these benefits safe rather than risky? That question leads directly into the final chapter, where safety and strategy must align with biology. After 6 months of fasting, your kidneys have adapted to a rhythm they rarely experience today. Insulin is steadier, filtration is calmer, and inflammation has eased across multiple microscopic pathways. But reaching this point invites a final responsibility: understanding the boundaries that keep progress safe. Fasting is powerful, yet its benefits depend entirely on choosing the right context for your biology. Medical researchers consistently emphasize that kidneys tolerate intermittent fasting well in healthy adults. However, they also highlight groups for whom fasting introduces unnecessary risk rather than renewal. People with stage 4 or 5 kidney disease cannot manage electrolyte shifts caused by prolonged fasting. Their reduced filtration makes sodium loss dangerous and increases the risk of sudden fluid imbalance. Similarly, anyone taking glucoselling medications faces the possibility of severe hypoglycemia when skipping meals. The body cannot compensate quickly enough if insulin remains elevated from medication rather than food. Individuals with a history of eating disorders also fall into a category requiring specialized supervision. Fasting can unintentionally reinforce harmful patterns if done without consistent professional guidance. These boundaries are not restrictions. They are safety rails, placed where physiology becomes unpredictable. For everyone else, fasting remains a strategic tool, especially when hydration is aligned with renal demands. This brings us to a simple formula that supports kidneys during extended fasting windows. A balanced drink prevents sodium collapse, stabilizes urine concentration, and softens metabolic transitions. Start with half a liter of water as the foundation for electrolyte distribution and fluid movement. Add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to support post-meal glucose regulation during eating windows. Include a fresh lemon slice to supply citrate, which reduces calcium oxalate binding inside the kidneys. Finish with a light pinch of mineral salt to replace sodium lost during the early fasting phase. This mixture is not a detox. It is a structural support for your filtration machinery. It keeps your kidneys steady while fasting signals encourage energy shifts and cellular housekeeping. Hydration may feel simple, but it maintains the very pressure gradients your kidneys rely on daily. And with these elements in place, fasting becomes sustainable rather than a cycle of guesswork. 6 months is not the end of the journey. It is the threshold of a new metabolic identity. Your kidneys have demonstrated resilience, adaptation, and a surprising capacity for recovery. The next chapter belongs to you, shaped by consistency, awareness, and a deeper understanding of your biology. Hope this video was valuable to you, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.